first real smart device was introduced in the market in 1994, and I would say that's when it all began. Today, I would say there isn't one home in the UK or even all over the world with at least one smart device in their home. Whether it be a phone, an Alexa, a coffee machine, an EV charger, there's endless amounts of smart devices that are installed in people's domestic premises and industrial and commercial premises all the time. In this podcast, I'm going to go into 7 of the most used smart devices that are used every day for an electrician. And don't forget to stay to the end, because there'll be an opportunity for you to get more jobs installing these smart devices for your customers. Toolbox Talks for Electricians, helping electricians reduce stress, gain back time and earn more money. Good morning and welcome back to Toolbox Talks for Electricians. I'm your host, Ben Poulter, and if you haven't got a smart device in your home, then you're missing out. They're popular all over the world. You must have something. I don't think I've ever met anyone without a little smart computer in their pocket, which in this day and age is a mobile phone. It can do so much. It can do everything. It can tell you, like, you've got your sat nav on the phone, basically, so it can tell you where to go. You can call everyone. You can text. You can video call. There's so much you can do with these smart devices these days. And for electricians, they're handy too. Whether you just want to find your local wholesaler of a different area where you're working, or maybe you want to do a quick cable calculation without having to go to that BS 7671 book. I think times have advanced over the years with smart technology, and it does help to make an electrician's life that little bit easier. Not just that little bit easier, but it makes you a better electrician to be able to provide these smart technology like appliances for customers too. So that's why here in this podcast, I'm going to list 7 of the top smart devices that electricians use and which we also install in customers' houses. And it goes without saying, a multifunctional tester. Every electrician has some sort of tester. Maybe not a smart tester, but if you have, they're damn good. And there's so many different multifunctional testers on the market, whether you've got a Fluke, a Q-Tech, a Mega, there's so many different brands. They're all competing to be the best multifunctional tester for electricians on the market. And a lot of these multifunctional testers, they can do it all. They can tell you when you get a test result, whether that's a pass or a fail. If you put in all the characteristics of the installation, what you're testing, they can tell you whether it's any good. They can tell you whether it's a pass or a fail to put on your certificate. Or I've even come across some testers that will log your results. They'll log all your results as long as you do it in a certain schedule. They'll log your results and they'll give you a test certificate for themselves that you can just straight away send off to the customer. And the bonus thing is, with the pat testers, you can get pat testing equipment that you can test the equipment and put all the characteristics in. Say maybe it's a toaster and it will do it for you. It will say item 01 and it will print the date out for you and everything. It will print the certificate straight off. Well, not the certificate, sorry. It will print the sticker straight off and then it will log it. So basically you can print it out at the end. You give the customer a certificate saying this is how many items I've tested, and they're, I don't know, £3 a piece or however much you charge for a pat test. And then you can give all the information to the customer with that test equipment logging everything for you. It saves electricians so much time. And yes, it might make electricians a little bit more lazy, where they don't have to go and look it up on the BS 7671 to make sure that test result is a pass or a fail. But it's the same thing. If you've got the multi-tester updated to the latest software, then that will tell you itself. So you don't need to check the BS 7671. It just saves you so much time in the long run. And number 2, I would say was a bit more of an advantage for the customer rather than the electrician. But kinetic switches, they're all over the place at the minute, and they're such a massive advantage for electricians to install, because the amount of times when you maybe put a lighting circuit in and things might change a little bit and the customer will say, can we move the switch here? Yes, no problem whatsoever. Sometimes you might have to take the chase out, re-chase it, to change all the switch wiring. That is a nightmare. But with these kinetic switches, you can just take it off the wall and move it to a different location. And you can even put it in your pocket if you want. You can do what you want. Just put that switch wherever you want. They don't work off of a 12 volt. They don't work off of 240. They work off of kinetic. They don't need batteries. I think they're fantastic for electricians in the market at the minute. I've used them a few times, like especially for outside lights. You can get the IP rated ones that go on the outside wall, which I think is a massive advantage for customers because they can dim their lights, they can do everything they want. And with the good ones, they can also hook themselves up to an app. You don't need that extra hub to sit by your router in your house. They hook straight up to an app, so you can control all your lighting from an app as well. And that's a massive advantage, I think, that you can do your customers. Because once you tell them, yeah, you can put the switch wherever you like. It's not going to cost you extra. I'll just take it off the wall and move it to that different location. But by the way, have I told you that you can also control this from your phone? Your customers will love you for that. And not only can they control it from their phone from when they're standing right next to it, but if they've got CCTV and they want the outside lights to come on maybe a little bit when they're away over the other side of the world, maybe in Australia, then they can turn their lights on for an hour in the evening just to keep their property a bit more secure. And that's a massive advantage because security, I think, is going massive in the UK at the moment because, I don't know, people are skint and people are going out robbing. So to be able to turn your lights on in the evening if you're away, that'd be a good advantage because it makes people think that there's somebody there. So that's another selling point for your customers. And number 3, depending what you're like with modern technology, a lot of the older generation don't like doing things on an iPad or doing things on the computer because, well, it's modern technology. You don't need to know so much. They might be retiring soon, so they're not really interested. But I've found if you have an iPad to record your results on, it's 10 times easier. I remember when I first started out, I used to be going home in the evenings and I'd be putting all the results in, what I'd written down on this piece of paper, the pads you get from the wholesalers, you fill them in. My writing's not the best anyway, so some people can't read it. That 9 might look like a 6, or it just looks a bit, well, it looks more professional on the computer where you get, I think there's a software called EasyCert that I use. You fill in it all in on the iPad, and you can completely straight away you export it onto a PDF and you can email it before you've even left the property to the customer. And the thing is, with this software as well, there's a little button on there you can press validate. So if you've just maybe missed something, you've missed a reading, or you haven't filled in a box properly, it'll tell you straight away, oh, you've missed this box. Like normally I always miss out the polarity. I haven't ticked the bottom to say the polarity is fine, but if you don't tick it, then it's an empty box. And I've had customers come back before and say, oh, why haven't you ticked that box? You're like, oh my god, how are you looking into this certificate so much? Like, fair enough, they've got a certificate. Some people, I assume, that don't look at certificates, so it is quite impressive sometimes when the customer checks out a certificate and says, right, why is this box not ticked? So that software, if you press validate, it will tell you what you've missed, and it's a massive advantage, I think, and it will save you so much time in the long run, because I used to hate coming home and having to sit there and fill out the certificates and then register it with NAPIT. It was a bit of a nightmare. This way, if you've got an internet in that property, you can fill it all out in one place, and that's fantastic for me, and it saves me so much time. I tell you what this software was fantastic for, which you can go around with your iPad. It makes it so much easier to do EICRs. If you're doing a report on that property, do it on your iPad. There's tick boxes, and sometimes you can copy and paste certificate if it's a similar property. I remember I used to do a whole estate, and the properties were around the same. They were quite similar, so I could use the characteristics on that board and just edit it and resave it. That saved myself so much time. And number 4, over the past 2 years, I think there have been thousands of these video camera doorbells installed for many reasons. It's a massive advantage for people that don't want to answer the door for no point. How many times do you sit there and your doorbell goes and someone knocks on the door? Lately, we've been getting people that want us to sign up to buy milk, to have a milkman again, which is fantastic. You're helping out little companies. But I just go to the shop and get my milk. It's easier. I don't want to have milk sat on my doorstep because where I live, scallywag kids will think, nice one, free milk. So I don't want to get that, but I don't want to answer the door to these people that I don't know. It's a nightmare. I'm not interested in answering the door to a lot of people like cold callers. I think that's an old hat these days. I used to get caught up with cold callers all the time, tried to be polite, but they were just trying to sell you. Either sell your encyclopedias, or they're trying to sell you to sign up, or they're trying to make you donate to charity. If I wanted to do that, I'll go out and donate to charity. You don't have to knock on my door and badger me to do it. And how simple is it to install these video transformers? Especially if you get like a branded name one, that all they need, it would sometimes even come with the battery. People that don't want to have disruption to their inside of their house with the wiring, you put it with a battery and lock it on the outside. But normally you can just update the bell box and you can give it a 12 volt supply, which is fantastic. People love that. it's a security camera at your front door as well, so you know who's coming up and going away with deliveries maybe. And a lot of people, they like to have some security cameras on their property as well. So if you've got a Ring doorbell, then they want a Ring camera and a Ring light system as well, with a camera installed as well. So that way, when you install a video camera, you get more work, because also they need a power supply in the loft or somewhere in that property to plug that camera in. Because my opinion, I don't like things running on batteries all the time. I can't be asked to get up the ladder and change the batteries a lot. And then you forget about it and it goes flat, and you leave it flat for a little while. And when that battery's flat, that's always when something happens. You go to look at it and you think, the bloody thing's been flat for 2 days. I knew I should have changed it, but the car's just been robbed. So yeah, I'd rather keep it with the main supply so it keeps it on constantly and you don't have to worry about it. And I think a lot of customers like that too. Now, number 5, and I do think that security is getting a lot more. People are thinking about it a lot more in the UK. They're wanting a bit more secure in their properties. So they're getting gate automation on the front of their properties. And it's not just having a decent gate to lock off their property. So no one should be inside that property if they're not welcome, sort of thing. So they like to have an automated gate, because the only problem is you have to get out your car all the time to open the gate up. People don't like getting out of the car. They like to drive in, get out of the car and go in the house. So what do you get these days? You get smart gate automation, where you can have a little key fob in your car. Where is it? My keys aren't here. But you can have a little key fob in your car where you go up to your property and it'll sense you're getting closer, because it'll be hooked up to the Wi-Fi. So it'll sense you're getting closer. It'll open the gate up and you'll be able to drive and it'll shut behind you. You don't have to touch anything. You don't even have to open the gate once you get there. Sitting in the middle of the road waiting for your gate to open up, yeah, it could be a bit of a nightmare. When it senses you getting close, yeah, it'll open the gates up for you. So that gate automation is something that a lot of people are putting in, and I think a lot of electricians are specialising in gate automation at the moment. And the advantage is that gate automation, it doesn't work by batteries. You need that to work, because the last thing you want to do is turn up at your house and the battery's gone flat and you can't get in your house. So obviously they need a supply installing for the gate. So that's another electrical job that we need to do, sort of thing, for them, is to put a decent supply in from the fuse board for the gate. And an uninterrupted supply is normally better. But because I was with a friend a little while ago, and he was we was just sitting there with motocross, and he got a phone on his Ring doorbell, and he said, "Oh yeah, well, I've got a delivery." That delivery guy, you don't know who's going to turn up with a delivery, so he was able to say, "Right, mate, just stick it in the garage." He didn't want to leave it out the front because someone could take it, and he was able to go on his phone, open his garage up, and you could see it all on the camera. The garage opened up, the delivery driver put it inside the garage, the delivery driver went off, he shut the garage, and that was it. It was 100 miles away, and that is quite impressive, I think. That was fantastic. So I think a lot of people like to do that now, so they can say, "Right, I'm in the shower," rather than letting that guy know that you're not actually there. You don't want to let people know that you're not in your property. If you say, "Oh, I'm not there at the minute, I'm on holiday," nice one, I'm going to break in and nick your telly. So they won't do that. So you can just say to people, "Right, I'm out the back," sort of thing, leave it in the garage. And that's exactly what he did. And I think that is a massive advantage for customers in domestic houses. Now, number 6. Now, this is a tool for us electricians. And I remember back in the day when you used to have these small, I think it was, my last one was the iPhone 4, when you can get it and you can shove it up of a 70mm hole to check where that cable is. You can have a little look, turn the camera on. Now, phones are a little bit bigger. It gets caught on that bleeding button and turns it off. So you can't shove your phone up anymore to have a look round to find where that cable is. And there is technology for that. I know Super Rod do it. I know CK do it. And they've got a little camera where you can put on the end of your rods and you can fish them around that property to be able to find out maybe if a cable snapped. This comes to an advantage for myself once. Where I did the kitchen, I always sell the plasterers, just board the ceiling. I've got a wiring diagram. I know exactly where them holes need to be, where the joists need to be. I've got a diagram of what I need to drill out. Well, I'll drill them holes out later on. Once it's all plastered, once it's maybe even painted. But one of them circuits, the rest of the carry on the lighting cable, it wasn't belling out. It wasn't. There was no point in switching it on. It would have blown up somewhere or other. There was a live and neutral fault. So what I do? Get that camera out, shove it down, and I found the joist. The bloke had put the plaster up and he'd stuck the cable underneath it. Not only underneath it, it pinned a few screws up there, so obviously it'd gone through it maybe once or twice, where it just basically damaged the cable. You could tell straight away. And so I could explain to the customer to say, "Look, this has happened. it isn't my wiring. I was confident it weren't my wiring. You always are. You've got to be confident in your work. I could explain to the customer, look, this has happened. It happens. It's a mistake. We need to cut a hole in your plaster. You need to get your plasterer about to come and fix it, which was not a problem. These things happen. But I just don't like getting the blame. So I like this little camera to be able to say, look, this is what happened. It wasn't through me doing a rubbish job. It's through a mistake of the plasterers doing the job. It happens. It's happened a few times. They do it. But when you can get it on camera and explain to them before you start cutting holes in that ceiling, yeah, it makes you feel a bit proud, thinking, nice one, I can do that. Because you can get it back on your phone. You stick your camera up. You don't have to download the recording to check it back. You can stick it on your phone via Bluetooth, sit the camera up, move it around, and find exactly where that fault is. And I love that. Now, number 7 is also for electricians. Because how many times do you go, this is mainly in commercial or industrial, when you go to a commercial industrial place and they say, right, we need you to replace that socket or extend that circuit. Okay, you need to turn it off. Yeah, that's fed from over there. And that board, it's not exactly labelled fantastic. It just says sockets. And there's six MCBs in there that say sockets. So how the hell are you going to know which socket it is? There's a little socket tester you plug into that socket, and you can go to the board, the main distribution board, and you can find out what circuit actually feeds. It's called a circuit fuse finder, which I think is a fantastic tool as well. Especially, you can even use them in domestic premises. How many times do people say, yeah, you can't knock their washing machine off, mate, because I've got something going. You just want to do that outside supply. You go to that board and there's no stickers on it. Or maybe it's a little bit old where the stickers have come off and people don't like them looking a bit rubbish, so they rip them off. There's a point for these labels on the stickers, mate. I need to know if you get any work done. But people just rip the stickers off if they flake off over time or don't put them back on properly. You never know. There's so many different scenarios where, well, you need to know which circuit fits which. Domestic's not too bad because you can switch the board off. More likely than no, they're getting electrical work doing. You can switch the whole board off. It's in an industrial or commercial site where you can't knock the computers off. They only want a bit of lighting changing, or a light installing, so you can't really knock the circuits off too much because they've got the computers running. So that's a great advantage for these circuit finders in there. You can even use them for lighting as well. If you can adapt it for that plug tester, it's a bit like a martingale or socket tester. You plug it in to maybe you can make up a light fitting one like that goes into it, like, you know what I mean. I explain it. You can plug it into a light fitting. I'll do a video on it one day on my little tester. But you can find out what lighting circuit controls that light, so you can be able to switch it off without having to switch the lot off to find out what it is. Obviously, you switch it off, you test it to make sure it is dead. But that is it's easier of it. You don't have to test this one, but not this one off, test it, not this one off, test it. You don't have to go through guessing which circuit it is. This one will help to save you time running back and forth, especially, like I say, in commercial or industrial, once again, because sometimes the board is frigging miles away. You got to go through the office, up, down, round, around, to find where the fuse board is, what feeds it properly. So the circuit finder for industrial commercial electricians is a fantastic tool to have. And I think that smart technology is advancing every day. There's so many different machines or different appliances online that customers want to use. Because I do know a guy that's got a coffee machine that you can turn your coffee machine on from in bed. You can turn that coffee machine on, start making a coffee. I don't know why you'd want one, because you've got to go downstairs anyway to pick the coffee up to actually drink it. But there's hobs you can control from your phone. There's washing machines and dishwashers you can control from your phone. I don't see the advantage in it myself, but the proven thing is, if someone invents it and puts it on the market, there's going to be a need for it. There's going to be a call for it. Someone's going to buy it. And that's exactly what happens. There's even conduit benders that will bend your steel conduit to a perfect 90 degree. In my eyes, that's just lazy. Come on, who can't do a 90 degree on a bit of conduit? Even with a plastic bit of conduit, you can bend it over your knee. But there is machines out there that will do it for you. But in my eyes, that's just lazy. But I think with a lot of people, it's a bit like keeping up with the Joneses. If you go to a housing estate and you do their garden's got landscaped, and you do a fantastic lighting design with a few sockets around their garden, next doors will look over the fence, they'll see it, and go, yeah, I want my garden like that. That's nice, but I want to make it better. So can you put like the red, green and yellow lights everywhere as well, so I can have colour changing? And then the next neighbour, he'll say, yeah, I like that. but can you do mine so it works with the music when I have the music on that you've installed the Bluetooth speaker system? Yep, no problems. So it's sort of keeping up with the Joneses. People like modern technology. If it's available, they want it. And with all this smart technology, who do they get to install it? An electrician. This is the fantastic thing, and I think it's quite easy to install a lot of this smart technology, especially when it's an RJ45 plug. It's not even live. You can test them out and stuff. Like, yes, they need a power, but normally the system comes that you plug it in because it's got a transformer. So all you need to do really is install a 13 amp plug. So it's quite simple to install, but people don't want to do it themselves. They don't want to plug it in themselves. They want an electrician to come out and plug it in and configure it and show them how it works. I've been to no end of jobs where you go there and you haven't got a clue how it works because they've bought it, it's brand new to the market. But I enjoy figuring it out because no doubt you walk away thinking, yeah, I want one at my house like that, and it'll give me more experience. You justify it to yourself as well. I do it all the time. I think this guy's got this, I want one of them. So you go online and you buy one, and you do it in order to say to your family, like, yeah, this is because I install it for other people. I've got to know how they work. But you just spent £200 on a bleeding video doorbell camera. You don't like answering the door anyway. We can normally see who's at the front door from the window. But you want to have one anyway. Keeping in contact with customers and letting them know what is on the market. This is what's helped my business grow over time. I send them a little newsletter to say, hey, have you seen these kind of switches? You don't have to do chases, you can move your switch wherever you want, and you can also connect it up with Wi-Fi. Hey, have you seen this new Nest thermostat? It controls, I like the Nest thermostat. The sales point with that is when you leave your house, your Nest thermostat knows you've left. So you don't have to have the heating on. Even when you're not there, when you turn up a bit late, you don't have to have that same sequence come on and off all the time. So in effect, it saves you energy. Saving energy this day is a massive thing because it's getting so expensive. So with these newsletters, it's just a polite reminder of that I'm alive and I'm available to do your electrical work. But then also, it's giving them a bit of incentive to say, hey, you're missing out. If you haven't seen these Kinetic switches, if you haven't seen these Nest thermostats, if you haven't seen these new technologies that's out, like the lights you can control with your phone. A lot of guys, I think, yeah, I like that idea. That's good, especially with the under cupboard lighting. There's a lot of guys that say, yeah, can you do the colour changing one, please? Like, don't tell the missus, just put the colour changing ones in, and I'll surprise her later on. I don't know. Guys like their gadgets. This is how we work. It's fun. So inside of the Toolbox Talks for Electricians Facebook group, there's a couple of free downloads where you can check out, try them out, send it to your customers. I send out maybe once a month. So send one out to your customers, just these newsletters, just to let them know what's on the market. But then also it might refresh their memory to think, hang about, yeah, I do need that socket changing. Or, yeah, actually I'm buying a new hot tub. I need Ben to come and install a supply to check the supplies for it or anything. Some sort of electrical work that will keep you fresh in their mind. Or maybe in a conversation, if they go out with their friends and say, we're having a kitchen fitter, we can't find an electrician. Well, yeah, I just got an email from Ben the other day, he can do this for you, no worries. So that's what keeps you fresh in their mind and fresh in all your customers' minds to promote you to their friends and family. So pop over and join the group and check it out in the guide section. And until next time, I'll see you again.